Listen up, venison junkies and backwoods philosophers. Today we're diving face first into the truths nobody's telling ya. Your hunting rifle isn't just a tool, it's a billboard advertising your whole existence to the world. It screams your life choices louder than your ex at Thanksgiving dinner. Every time you pull that thing out of the safe, you're basically handing strangers your psychological profile wrapped in camo and gun oil. Let's cut to the bone and expose what that cherished deer slayer really says about the person behind the trigger. No holding back today. This is intervention-level honesty coming at ya. Let the show begin. Tika T3X UPR. You picked this bad boy because deep down you're the type that color codes your underwear drawer and alphabetizes your spice rack. The precision obsession ain't just with your Tika, it's your whole dang life. You probably have spreadsheets tracking your ammo performance that's more detailed than your family budget. When other hunters talk MOA, you correct them with SMOA and watch their eyes glaze over faster than a donut shop window. Your Tika T3X sits in a custom case that costs more than your buddy's entire setup, and you've spent more on rings and bases than most folks spend on their rifle. Every time someone mentions their tack driver, you just smile, pat your Tika, and whisper, "That's cute," under your breath. You don't hunt animals, you hunt mathematical perfection, and somehow you've convinced yourself that one more aftermarket part will get you there. Buggera B14. You're not fooling anybody, budget precision guy. You wanted that custom PRS rig that costs more than a used Toyota, but reality and your bank account had other plans, so you compromised with Spanish engineering that screams practical sensibility. You're the type who researches everything for weeks, watches 37 YouTube reviews, and still hesitates at the checkout like you're defusing a bomb. The Buggera B14 is your way of telling everyone you're sophisticated without being stupid with money. You probably wear the same pair of hunting boots for 15 years, not because they're comfortable, but because they ain't broke yet. Every time you make a good shot with that Buggera, you announce to everybody within earshot that it outperforms rifles 3 times its price, which is precisely the validation you need for not going into debt for that Christensen arms you really wanted. Deep down, you're smarter than most of us, but you'll never admit how many hours you spent polishing that factory trigger. Browning XBolt. Well, hello there, country club hunter. You didn't just buy a rifle, you bought membership into an identity where performance meets pretension. The XBolt hanging proudly in your den is less about hunting and more about belonging to the right social circles. You probably own matching Browning luggage and tell stories about your European hunts to people who didn't ask. Your hunting cabin is actually a 4-bedroom vacation home with satellite TV and a wine cellar. You say things like, "my gunsmith," the same way other people say, "my doctor." The last 3 times you went hunting, you spent more time arranging your Browning for Instagram photos than actually watching for game. Your ammunition costs more per round than most people's lunch, not because you need it, but because cheap ammo would be an insult to your XBolt's dignity. And when someone asks about your rifle's accuracy, you don't give numbers, you just smile condescendingly and say, "it does what it needs to do." Savage Model 110. You're the kind of person who cuts coupons, changes your own oil, and still uses a flip phone because it works just fine. You're not just practical, you're aggressively sensible. The Model 110 sitting in your closet, not gun safe, closet, has been through more seasons than most relationships, and you treat scratches like badges of honor. You secretly judge people who pay for gun cleaning services the same way you judge people who hire lawn care. Every time someone brings up their new fancy rifle, you mention that your Savage puts meat in the freezer just fine, like it's your personal motto. You've probably said AccuTrigger in conversations at least 500 times in your life. The Model 110 is basically the Toyota Corolla of bolt actions, and that suits you just fine because reliability trumps flash every dang time. You ain't shooting to impress, you're shooting to efficiently solve the problem of empty freezer space. Ruger 1022. You're basically a walking contradiction. The person who brags about keeping it simple while owning 17 different aftermarket parts for a rifle that was perfect off the shelf. Your Ruger isn't just a rifle, it's an ongoing project that's consumed more weekends than your spouse is comfortable discussing. You flex about how practical the 22LR is for small game, but everybody knows you just like shooting without spending your kids' college fund on ammunition. Half your gun budget goes to bulk packs of ammo that you burn through like they're free samples. You've told the story about your first squad squirrel with the 1022 so many times that your hunting buddies mutter it in their sleep. Every time Ruger releases a new 1022 variant, you find yourself browsing your local shop just to look, and somehow your collection keeps growing. You talk about the trajectory and ballistics of a 22 with the seriousness of someone discussing rocket science. I'm glad you're watching. If you're enjoying the content, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing. Your support helps us keep bringing you more. Now back to the video. Remington Model 700. You're old school to the core, the type that still refers to the internet as the web and doesn't trust touchscreens. Traditional ain't just important, it's your religion, and your Model 700 is your holy relic. You've passed on newer, objectively better rifles because my daddy used a 700, his daddy used a 700, and by God, that's all a man needs. Your rifle has killed more deer than chronic wasting disease, and you mention this fact within 5 minutes of meeting any new hunter. Every scratch on that weathered stock tells a story you're more than willing to share unprompted. You clean your Remington with the same reverence a priest shows sacred texts. Post-2007 Remingtons make you scoff and launch into tirades about quality American manufacturing that nobody asked for. The Model 700 in your hands isn't just a tool, it's a political statement, a family tradition, and your personal identity wrapped in blued steel and walnut. Mossberg Patriot Predator. You're the practical philosopher of the hunting world, the guy who found the sweet spot between good enough and why spend more. You picked the Patriot Predator after precisely calculating cost per performance ratios that would impress NASA engineers. You probably drive a mid-range pickup that's precisely 5 years old, not too new to be wasteful, not too old to be unreliable. Your friends call you sensible behind your back, and you take it as a compliment. Every time you shoot your Mossberg, you mentally calculate the savings compared to that Weatherbe you almost bought. You keep your hunting gear in plastic totes with labels, and you can tell anyone exactly how many rounds you've put through your Patriot down to the single digit. You don't post hunting photos on social media because that ain't what hunting's about. But secretly, it's because you don't want people asking why you didn't get something fancier. Winchester Model 70. You aren't just a hunter, you're a historian with a trigger finger. The Model 70 propped against your wall represents your stubborn refusal to acknowledge that we've moved past the 1950s. You probably have strong opinions about wood versus synthetic stocks that you share whether folks asked or not. Your hunting stories always seem to include some variation of "they don't make them like they used to," usually followed by a misty-eyed stare into the distance. Half your conversations at the gun shop start with pre-64 and end with younger hunters wondering what the heck you're talking about. You've turned down jobs because they interfered with deer season, and you refer to your Winchester as the rifleman's rifle, without a hint of irony. Your Model 70 has been in more family photos than some of your cousins, and you clean it after every range trip like it's going into a museum display. For you, hunting isn't just about the kill, it's about connecting with a tradition that goes back further than your receding hairline. Smith & Wesson Model 1854. Let's be real, you didn't just buy a hunting rifle, you bought a conversation piece. You're the type who enjoys being different just for the sake of it. The Model 1854 hanging over your fireplace has killed fewer animals than your house cat, but boy does it look good when company comes over. You probably wear historically accurate hunting clothes even when it's impractical, and you've memorized more Smith & Wesson history than their company historian. Every hunting trip begins with you explaining your rifle choice to confused companions who just want to get moving already. You use terms like aesthetic and craftsmanship more than accuracy or ballistics. Your Smith & Wesson has been photographed more times than it's been fired, and deep down you're fine with that arrangement. You don't just hunt, you perform hunting as if Ernest Hemingway might be watching from the trees. And when you do actually bag something with that 1854, you celebrate like you've just won Olympic gold. Ruger American Gen 2. You're the ultimate pragmatist, the type who buys store-brand cereal and refuses to pay for premium gas. Value isn't just a preference, it's your entire personality. Your Ruger American sits in a soft case that came free with something else, and you've never once thought about upgrading it. You probably have strong opinions about people who spend ridiculous money on custom rifles, and you express them to anyone unfortunate enough to bring up the topic. Every successful hunt with your Ruger is another chance to remind folks that it ain't the arrow, it's the Indian, while secretly being proud of getting more performance per dollar than those suckers with their fancy rigs. You clean your Ruger American once per season whether it needs it or not, and you still use the factory scope that came with it because it works fine for the distances I shoot. Your hunter philosophy is ruthlessly minimalist. The Gen 2 does exactly what it needs to do, no more, no less, just like your approach to most things in life. Marlin 336. You pride yourself on being the old soul who still appreciates the classics, even if you were born after the internet. The lever-action Marlin hanging in your truck rack isn't just a rifle, it's a time machine that connects you to a romanticized past you never actually experienced. You probably own more plaid shirts than any reasonable person needs, and you use phrases like brush gun and woods weapon in normal conversation. Half your hunting stories start with back in the days before all this fancy gear, even though you own an iPhone 14. Your 336 has more sentimental value than market value, and that's exactly how you prefer it. You hunt in places where shots are measured in yards, not hundreds of yards, and you secretly feel superior about the challenge. Every time someone mentions their long-range setup, you just pat your Marlin and say something about keeping it real. You're not just hunting deer, you're hunting an authentic experience that feels increasingly rare in a digital world. Weatherbe Mark 5. You didn't just buy a rifle, you bought a statement piece that screams, "I have arrived," to everyone at the range. Subtle ain't in your vocabulary, partner. The Mark 5 displayed prominently in your glass gun cabinet costs more than your first car, and you recite its ballistic coefficients with the same reverence others reserve for their children's accomplishments. You probably got business cards with your hunting lease name on them and a custom-engraved flask that nobody asked to see. Every hunting trip is documented with professional-grade photography equipment because if a trophy falls and isn't posted on Instagram, did it really happen? You use terms like hand-lapped barrel and sub-MOA guarantee in casual conversation with non-hunters, then look disappointed when they don't understand. Your Weatherbe Mark 5 has never touched mud or been caught in the rain because ownership of such a fine firearm requires environmental control worthy of a NASA clean room. You don't just hunt, you make appearances in the wilderness, and your rifle is the ultimate accessory. Alright folks, now I want to hear from you. Does your rifle personality hit too close to home, or did I miss the target completely? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know which hunting rifle you swear by that didn't make this list. Maybe you're running something even more revealing about your character than what I covered today. And hey, if this video gave you a chuckle or helped you roast your hunting buddies, smash that subscribe button on the Guns You Can't Live Without channel. We serve up fresh, no-holds-barred firearm content that your algorithm needs more than you need another gun safe. Until next time, stay safe out there, and good night.